Good evening, everybody. We're just waiting for everyone to log in. Just give us a couple of minutes. We'll wait to see if more people come in before we start the session. We'll begin in a bit. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Monday evening to join us for our program this evening. My name is Patty. I'm your librarian facilitator for this evening. And today we are very lucky to have Elizabeth to take us through web conversion rate optimization. Just a little quick introduction of Elizabeth. She's a seasoned digital marketing professional with over 25 years of experience at industry leaders like Warner Brothers and Universal Pictures, after which she started her own consultancy, working with a lot of big name brands like Moët, L'Oreal, and Shiseido. So yeah, she'll be taking us through tonight's session. And before we start, just a quick little go over of the house rules. If everyone could just keep your microphones muted unless you have a question, but feel free to use the chat. I think Elizabeth would like to encourage that if you have any questions, feel free to just jump in with any questions you may have in the chat, and she'll answer them as she goes. This program is also recorded, so yeah, just be mindful of that. Yeah, so without further ado, I'll hand the time over to Elizabeth, who will take us through tonight's session. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, and thank you for that introduction, and a big thank you to everybody joining us today on a Monday evening in this lovely, cool, rainy weather that we're having in Singapore at the moment, to talk about website conversion rate optimization. So we're going to go through a couple of points here, and as we say, you'll probably know more than you think as we go through the session. Before we get started, I'd love to know a little bit more about who we've got on the webinar this evening. If you can just write in the chat, if you'd like to introduce yourself, that would be lovely. But I'd love to know how much you are familiar with website conversion rate optimization. So maybe on a scale of 1, where you don't know anything, to 10, where you are super expert and proficient. Give yourself a score. So in the chat box, which you should see in the Zoom bar on the bottom, you give yourself a 1 if you're a complete novice, up to a 10 if you're an expert, just so I kind of know what sort of experience you guys have got. And if you want to share any other information about yourself, that'd be amazing. Okay, we've got lots of 1s so far. That's all good. So while everybody is giving their feedback, just a bit of an introduction to myself, and most importantly to ASK Training. So I work there as one of their digital marketing tutors, and this is one of the courses we teach. I actually taught it today, so my mind is full about website conversion rate optimization. And it's one of the topics that we look at to really help people improve the performance of some of their marketing channels so they can get more conversions, and hopefully grow and make more money. So that's where this is coming from. You can probably tell by my accent, I am from the UK, lucky enough to have been here for 7 years now, teaching digital marketing. So had lots of amazing experience with local businesses and looking at their websites and monitoring their performance. Okay, so just looking at the feedback, I think everybody's on a 1. That can't be right. So everybody is saying that they're kind of beginner level in terms of CRO. That's good. It's good for me to know that in terms of knowing where to pitch this session. If you have any questions, please just write them into that same chat box. Happy for you to ask them as we go through the session. And also, if you want to wait till the end to ask questions, then that's cool as well. Okay. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to look at 4 main things. So the first one is the CRO mindset. So the conversion rate optimization mindset. So how we should be looking at our website in terms of it being a dynamic tool that we can use for our marketing. I'm going to go through just the top conversion killers. So a couple of things that lots of businesses get wrong in terms of losing people and not getting the conversions that we need. And then to focus more on the positive, a couple of quick wins that we can do to boost conversions. And then I'm a big fan of tools to help us with our marketing. So we're going to finish off looking at some of the free tools that we all have access to that can help us get better at getting more conversions on our website. So that's the layout for this evening. As I said, any questions, please, you can interrupt or just write them in the chat. I've got it open on my screen so I can see if any questions come up. So seeing as we've got lots of beginners in the room this evening, we'll start with what are we talking about tonight, right? What is CRO? What is conversion rate optimization? So looking at first, what is a conversion? This is really the percentage or number of people to your website who take the desired action. So if we were thinking of a website like Lazada, that might be to put items in a basket and check them out, right? So normally when we think of conversion, we think about e-commerce and people buying things on a website. But it's not just about that. There are many, many different conversions that we can look at on a website. So I've said here that it's important to understand what your conversion looks like for your website. So just in contrast to Lazada, if we looked at my website, for example, so as a trainer and a consultant, I don't want you to buy anything on my website. I want you to give me a call to see if I can help you and deliver some training for you. So my conversion is to book a call. Yeah, so it's understanding what that conversion, that main conversion is on your website, and then making sure that that conversion is working as hard as it possibly can for you to get as many leads or as many customers as you possibly can. So in the class today, we actually looked at a couple of examples of websites where the conversion might be to download a PDF guide or to make a call like it is on my one, or to watch a video. So maybe there's a video on there. What were we looking at? Dyson today, where we were looking at hair products and looking at how all of their different products work. A conversion, which maybe is an indication that someone's likely to buy, is that they watch that tutorial video, they look at all those amazing features, and then they think, yes, I want to buy this item. So that could be a conversion as well. So that's the first step, is to try and figure out what is the conversion that we're trying to improve on our website. And then what this looks like then is how many people coming into our website are going to actually do that thing that we want them to do. So place the order, subscribe to our newsletter, watch that video or make that call. Now, the average conversion rate at the moment in Singapore is between 2 and 5%. So for e-commerce, it sits around 2 or 3%. So of every 100 people that comes to your website, only 2 or 3 of them is going to put that item in the basket and check out. It can go as high as 8 or 10%. So I used to work in media. So a lot of the entertainment companies, they see conversion rates of 8 to 10%. So someone like, I don't know, Shaw Theatres, for example, selling movie tickets, right? They might get a much higher conversion rate than maybe just a standard e-commerce store, right? So that's what we're looking at, is improving that conversion rate, maybe from a 2% to a 3 or a 4%, in which case the business would make significantly more money because you're getting more people completing that conversion action. So hopefully that makes sense. What I mean by the CRO mindset, so the conversion rate optimization, so that just means how do we make that conversion rate better? How do we take it from a 2% to a 3 or a 4%? And that is really to think about a couple of things. So the first one is every time we don't maximize that click, then we're losing time or money, right? Especially if we're doing some sort of advertising. So if we're doing an ad campaign on Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn, for example, and we're sending people to our website, so we've paid for that click, and then they're not doing the thing we want them to do, then we're really losing money from our marketing budget. So we need to make sure that every click counts, otherwise we're losing out. And the second point there is most websites, and this is from big companies all the way through to small individuals and small companies and small businesses, most websites are leaking conversions due to really, really simple things that are very easy to fix. So we looked at several different websites today. We looked at a beef restaurant. We looked at someone selling cosmetics. We looked at someone selling truffle oil because I've become obsessed with truffle oil since moving here. And even those websites that are well established, the businesses are doing well. There were a couple of things there, really easy things to fix that meant that maybe that conversion rate wasn't as high as it could be. And I think at the moment, the mindset of many of us who work in business and marketing is, right, I've spent all of this time creating this amazing website. Right, off it goes, right? That's now going to mean that, yes, that website's working perfectly. I'm going to get all my customers coming in and booking my calls and buying my products and everything's great. Whereas we really need to keep more of an open mind and a dynamic outlook on our website to think, okay, what's working? Where can we fix this? What can we change to make sure that that conversion rate is as high as possible? And here, where we have very much a mobile first behavior, so people are accessing mostly websites on their mobile phones and their tablets. Plus, we've got very impatient customers that want things immediately and they want to be able to find what they need on websites, means that as business owners and marketeers, we have this urgency to optimize, right? We need to make sure that once somebody lands on our website, they're going to make that conversion. They're going to take that action that we want them to take. I was looking at some data today with the class in terms of how many people come onto a website and then leave without having done anything. And it's a staggering 48% of people. So nearly half of everybody, for example, that comes to my website to look about training, they leave and they don't do anything at all, which is slightly heartbreaking when you put lots of effort into making a website for a business. And looking at how we can maximize conversions is going to reduce that number of people that leave before they take the action we want them to take. So that's really what the CRO mindset is about. So lots of customers here are researching online before making a purchase. So recent data from a report that came out in December last year showed that 84% of people will research online before making a purchase, either online or in store. So coming to your website, looking at the products and services that you offer and being able to find what they need is top of their list of priorities for 84% of people. The other thing that's happening in the Singaporean market is a lot of businesses are spending money on adverts, right? So spending money on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, TikTok ads, LinkedIn and Google ads, right? These are the main channels that we're spending money on in order to drive traffic to our website. And what that means is if we're spending quite a lot of money, so $870 million, right, is expected to be spent this year, we're spending all that money driving people to our website, then we mustn't lose them when they get to our website. We mustn't be that 48% that come and then leave without having done anything, because then that's just money down the drain. And then at the moment, as I said, the average conversion rate, so globally is 2 to 5%. At the moment here, it's averaging between 1.5 and 2.2. So low conversion rates at the moment. So that's compounded by the fact that consumers, especially in Singapore and wider in Asia, are spending a little bit more amount of time online, but across multiple different platforms. So we're very distracted, right? We're looking at lots of different things all the time. Maybe we're looking even, if you're my children, you certainly are looking at more than one screen at the same time, right? So you're getting very distracted. Therefore, it's even more important that our websites are working hard to get our messages across to those people who are not maybe focusing on what we're trying to say. So the CRO mindset is really about refining what you've got in a website. It's not about rebuilding the structure or starting afresh, but it's really about understanding your customer. So I'm big on looking at customers, the avatar of that customer, and what they really want from you as a business. Yeah, I strongly believe that your website shouldn't be your broadcast platform to say how amazing your business is and how many people you help and how many amazing products you've got, but really it should work hard for you as a marketing tool so that when people come to your website, it's about them. Yeah, you as a consumer, when you go to a website, it's what's in it for you. So if I'm looking for, I don't know, we're looking at hair products today. If I'm looking for a new hairdryer and I go to a website, I want to know what that's going to do for me. Yeah, how long is it going to last? What's the guarantee? How quickly is it going to dry my hair? How easy is it going to make for me to get ready in the morning? I don't necessarily want to know about the values of the company and everything straight up. Maybe I might want to know about that further down the line. But initially, I want to find information on how that product is going to help me. So most companies already know most of this information about their customer. So now we need to use that knowledge so that we can reflect that in the website. So your website should reflect what your customer needs to know. So the easiest way that I can kind of describe this is to look at it in stages that your customer would go through before they buy something from you if you're running a business. So usually we get people, say, coming to our website at the top. So we're starting at the top of this. So the subscribers or the visitors to your website. So this example here is to sign up for maybe a newsletter, right? When you get onto a website. So these people come in at the top of the funnel. And at this point, they're just kind of aware of what products and services you've got on offer. You then might have some content on your website or a goal, a conversion goal, to try out the product. So to sign up for a new product, to have a trial. And we were looking today at some wireframing tools. So we researched some tools. Some of us signed up for a free trial. So at that point, you're a lead. You've not bought anything from that website just yet. Then you go further into the website and you become a qualified lead. Maybe you use that 2 weeks free trial up, and then hopefully you make a decision and you become a customer. So this is just one example of how we would really get to grips with what our customer wants, what do they need from us as a business, and then what content and what conversion points do we need on our website to allow them to do that journey, right? So if I was wanting to, I don't know, research what films were coming out in the cinema in April, and I went onto the Shaw Theatre's website. You can tell what I was looking at over the weekend. I'm not ready to book anything. So if it took me to a booking page immediately, I would probably think, oh no, that's not what I want, and leave the website. Whereas if I went to a page that gave me an overview of all the different films, then I went onto a page when I become a lead then to look at different timings and different costs, and then I maybe put one thing in my basket before I could become a customer. If the different conversion points on the website led me through that journey, I'm much more likely to convert and spend money with that business. Yeah, so it's about understanding that process. So as an example, today we sort of mapped this process out for buying some truffle chips from this company we were looking at to see what were the stages that you would go through. Okay, so that's kind of having the CRO, so the conversion rate optimization mindset. It's to understand customers, to act with empathy towards the customers and really understand what they need from us rather than what we want to say to them. So going on to the second point of this evening's webinar then, some common conversion killers. So what are some things that businesses are doing, which means that our conversion rate is maybe slightly lower than we'd want it to be? Okay, so the first one, and I'm sure lots of you as consumers have got experience coming across this, would be the navigation. So by this, I mean the menu bar that you use to move around a website. or just the homepage. When you arrive at the top of the funnel, when you're becoming aware of the product, you're trying to find the information that you need, and there's just too much there. So if we supply our audience with too many options, they're going to get decision fatigue, and they're probably going to leave the website. So if there's too many things there, they can't decide between them, there's too much information, then they're not going to know how to find the information they want on the website. So whenever I teach this in class, I always kind of give the analogy of me walking into a hawker center. I still find them very overwhelming, right? There's so many options. There's so much delicious food available there that actually I don't know where to start, right? So often I have just turned around and walked back out again. I now know to look for the places with the longest queues, but at the beginning it was too much and it was too overwhelming. So I left. So it's the same thing on your website. If you've got too many options on your, for example, your menu at the top, you've got more than 5 options, then the customer's going to be like, oh, I don't really know if it's this one or that one, and then they might leave. What were we looking at today? We were looking at Shein, that's the one, and they had, no kidding, about 15 different offers on their homepage of different discounts and different codes and different special offers that they were doing at that moment in time. So again, too much. We didn't know where to start, so therefore we didn't start at all, right? It's too overwhelming. And then the last point here in terms of things that could maybe reduce your conversion rate would be if you haven't got clear visual hierarchy and clear mapping of the information across your website. So if you've got loads of different fonts, I'm not a fan of having lots of italic and script font either, because it's very difficult to read, especially on a mobile phone. If you've got lots of different content formats, so you've got videos and infographics and downloadables and forms to fill in and a WhatsApp button and everything, all competing for kind of real estate space on your website, then again, your customer's probably going to look at all those options and think, I don't know where to go now. So it's really important that we keep things as simple as possible, which I'll come on to when we go through our quick wins for improving our conversion rate. So this is a nice example from an American website that's got it a little bit wrong in terms of their navigation, right? So we're probably all looking at that and thinking, oh, it's just too much, right? They've got their express shipping, biggest sale, $10 off, 50% off, $10 bonus, $10 off when you spend $25. I don't know which reward I would be getting when. You're much better off just focusing on one really clear offer and then guiding your customer through the site for them to get that offer as an incentive to buy something. In this case, they're looking at doing it as a Father's Day incentive, right? So that has got too much information and therefore is likely to put people off. Okay, the second conversion killer is call to action buttons. So by this, I mean the book now, learn more, add to basket, download, fill in this form, those buttons that we see on people's websites. So interestingly, what we're finding at the moment is because people are using AI a lot, it's my other area of passion and expertise, people are chatting away with ChatGPT and various other tools. We're becoming a little bit more verbose when we're searching for information. A lot of people are talking into their mobile phones as well and doing voice search. And therefore, we're almost wanting that mirrored in the information that we see coming back from websites. So we don't necessarily want really boring, generic call to action buttons like click here or buy now. Yeah, that we're finding those very unmotivating and not specific enough. What we're finding, and we looked at some of the research into this today, is if you say, click here to improve your marketing performance for Q1, that's much more descriptive, it's much more motivating, it's very specific to what that certain website was about, and it gives you the kind of output and the benefit that as a consumer you're looking for. So we're finding that instead of these small, tiny little call to action buttons, we're actually seeing some call to action buttons going the whole length of the screen on a mobile phone and giving a big, long description as to what's going to happen when you then click on that button. Okay, so that's the first one. So we're trying to avoid very generic, very unmotivating call to action buttons. Things like submit, quite cold. Submit what? Like if that's underneath a form, what is it we're asking the customer to do? Now, learn more is an interesting one. I also teach on the advertising course at ASK as well. And actually, learn more is one of the best performing call to actions on platforms like Meta. People don't want the pushy buy this item now. They want to feel like they're in control and they want to buy that item. But actually, on a website, and websites are usually when people are more ready to make a purchase, we're finding that consumers are perceiving the learn more button to be too vague, a little bit too passive, hasn't got enough urgency to make people actually press that button and take the next step. So therefore, again, we might be losing people and therefore not maximizing out that conversion. The other one with call to actions, and I'm sure you guys have all seen this on websites, is when we just have too many call to action buttons and they're all different. Right, so upload this, donate money now, add to cart, read more, learn more, download this form, but we don't know where to start. Yeah, we don't know which button to press first. We don't know what order we're supposed to be doing this in. It becomes very messy and very unclear. It's much better to focus on one goal per section of your website and then have that call to action multiple times, so that we know, right, this is about where I donate my money for this charity. That's what this whole page is about. And we can say it in different ways. Excuse me, donate now. Would you like to contribute to this charity now, for example, but all meaning the same thing, right? So all the main goal for that conversion rate. And the last one, the last conversion killer that I want to highlight, this is my personal favorite, if I can have a favorite, is when the website is all about you and not about your customers. So this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning in terms of having empathy for your customer and really understanding your customer. Many, many businesses use websites as a broadcast platform to share to the world what they're all about. They talk about their vision and their mission statement and all of these wonderful testimonials that they've got from people right straight off the bat at the beginning, with no context necessarily and no value to the customer. So it's too much about kind of brand awareness. So it reads more like a sales conversation or a company brochure rather than what it is. It's supposed to be, the website is supposed to be a helpful tool for customers to understand more about how your products and services can help them, and more about what you're going to do to add some benefit. Yeah, great question in the chat. So what about free call to action buttons? So do you mean like free trial? If you could just expand on that a little bit, or free product or free service, like just give me a little bit more information about what you mean by the free CTA. Yeah, okay. So free buttons, if you are doing a trial, these do work. If we're saying, for example, have a free sample product or try, like we were looking at some heat mapping tools and they often offer 7 or 14 days free trial, that's absolutely okay as a CTA, because that's being helpful to the user, that's being helpful to the customer, talking about this particular conversion killer that we're on now. But going back to the previous point about what we call those conversion points, and we don't want to be too generic or cold, we could just explain what are they getting for free. So, free trial of a heat mapping tool to help you improve conversions on your website. That would sound really good. So just explain, not that it's just free, because hopefully we need more than that. It's free and it's going to help me how, right? Another great question from Abigail. Wouldn't a longer CTA impact the user experience? What an amazing question. That is exactly what I thought, Abigail, when I first started coming across this recent trend. You would think, is anybody going to take the time, right, to read a massive long CTA? And I was quite skeptical at first, but I think if you look at it from a pure marketing point of view, then what we're doing is we're very, very clearly explaining the benefit to the customer of taking the action. Now we're consuming more content than we've ever done in the past. We are a little bit more skeptical and also a little bit more aware, right? As consumers, we know when someone's trying to sell something to us, we know what marketing tactics people are using. So I think actually it improves the experience because it tells us in more detail what's going to happen next. So there's, a lot of things about elevating trust and elevating confidence between yourself and your customer. And I think it goes some way to do that. So actually it seems to be working better and improving the experience rather than taking away from it. I feel loving these questions. If anybody else has got any questions, please put them in the chat. It's nice to hear your feedback as we go along as well. Okay, so we were talking about having the website not being all about you. And the last point on here, just to loop back into that, is visitors can't quickly find what to do or why it matters. So I'm really looking for how you can help me when I come to your website. I'm either looking to invest in a service or buy a product. So I want to know what's in it for me. Yeah, and if I want to know more context about your values as a business, your corporate social responsibility, I will look at that after I've figured out what's in it for me. So really important that the website isn't a brochure. It isn't just talking about how amazing we are as businesses. It's actually consumer-centric and consumer-focused. Okay. Excuse me. Right. So they are the main three conversion killers. Right, so we looked there about navigation, we looked at call to action buttons, and we also looked at focusing on the customer rather focusing on us as businesses. So let's turn that around then and have a look at a couple of quick wins. So first of all, navigation. I'm sorry if there's anybody on the webinar, anybody knows anybody that works at Zara, but I have a big problem with the Zara website because I find it very difficult to navigate around, often required to go on there to buy stuff for my daughter. And this isn't a bad example, actually. This is it a couple of weeks ago. Now you can't even see the menu bar. It's hidden in two black and white images that we looked at this morning. Very, very hard to figure out where to go just to find a pair of jeans or a pair of shorts. The search functionality is there, but you've got to really look for it within the image. This is very beautiful and impactful, but very hard to navigate around, right? As opposed to this clothing website, Guess. And we also looked at Sephora today, which is awesome in terms of its navigation, where you've got, if you can just about see it there, it's probably tiny, especially if you're watching this on a mobile device, but it's got here categorized menu options along the top. So you can see, right, I want to look at jumpers, or I want to look at t-shirts, or I want to look at shorts. Okay, now I want to look at, girls' shorts, for example, this style, denim shorts. You can just go further and further into the detail to find what you need. So it's really straightforward. It's really intuitive, and it leans into the customer and how they like to shop for items. Okay, so that's one quick win. We spoke about mobile and how most people are using mobile phones actually when they're looking at websites, and we need to have clear mobile navigation. So you'll recognize this hamburger menu here. This is what we need so that we can use our fingers and thumbs, right, to access that menu and get to the items we want. Now, the magic number here really is 5. We don't really want more than 5 options in the menu. So they've got slightly more here, but the last one is the contact one, which is, could be a separate element at the bottom of your website. So we need limited number of navigation options so we don't overwhelm the consumer. And it needs to be very clear what they're getting in each section, and it needs to be clickable, which might sound really obvious and silly, but sometimes on these menus, they're too tiny and actually you can't click them with your fingers. And then the last point here is another really simple hack for a quick win is just a color code. So you can see here, obviously the brand colors are 2 tones of green and white. So they're using a lighter green for the header bar and then a darker green to tell the user you are now in the menu, right? This is where you're going to navigate around this website. Another thing that we can do to help people with navigation is look at something called visual hierarchy. So that is making things bigger that are more important. Again, pretty straightforward, but it's amazing how many people don't use this to their advantage on their websites, right? So what we're doing is we're drawing the attention to really important things on our website here by having them in bigger font or having them in bold. You can do this with images as well. So often on a website, we'll see like a big image when we first come to the website. That's called the hero image. And then we'll see smaller images underneath. These are supporting or secondary images. And this is just saying to the customer, in the simplest way possible, I want your attention here first, please. And then if you need more information, you can go to these smaller images underneath. If you go on a website and everything is the same size and it's all equally proportioned, we don't know where to look. We don't know where to, our eyes, where to read first. So again, we were looking at the Shein website on a big screen today. All of the offers, very overwhelming, all exactly the same size, right? There was one slightly bigger image, which was just the shop, but none of those images were any bigger than any of the rest. So we didn't know which was the most important offer to choose from. So size and font, so visual hierarchy, very, very quick and easy way to tell our customers what's important and what isn't. Okay, so that's to help our customers navigate around our website. The second quick win, we're going to focus back in again on these call to action buttons. So how do we make it more likely that someone is going to click on those buttons and do the action we want them to do? So along with being more descriptive that we've already discussed, we can also use action verbs, right? So doing words, right? Book this, get this, see this, download this, and then why? What is the benefit? So download your free guide to get my top AI prompts now, right? Like, what are they going to get? What is the benefit and what is the doing word? Yeah, book a free trial to improve your marketing. Get instant access to see where people are looking on your website. Yeah, so it's still clear. We're not being overly verbose, but we're saying what we want them to do in terms of an action word, and then we're also saying what the benefit to the customer is. Now, this, I don't normally like to use Starbucks as an example, but this is a good example of a call to action, right? So this is the call to action in writing. So keep the rewards coming. This is, again, more information about the call to action. So the rewards don't stop at your morning coffee. We're going to unlock perks from partners, blah, blah, blah. And then a final button now, reflecting back on that call to action, join the Starbucks rewards. So we haven't given like a massive, great big button that they need to press, but we've spoken about the call to action 3 times within that screen to try and convince people that they want to sign up for the Starbucks reward system. So what we're doing here is we're being specific about what happens next. So we're reducing any fears or uncertainties or doubts that our customers might have about clicking on that button. Yeah. And then the last thing we spoke about was making your website customer-centric. Now, massive fan of using AI to help with this type of stuff. So now if you're using, especially ChatGPT in the Plus, so the paid plan, we can use tools like deep research to really understand the problems, the goals, and the pain points that our customers have. So instead of just using gut feel, so I just did this for a client last week, we inputted their website, we inputted a bunch of information about their business, and then we used the deep research option. So on my plan, I can use that 10 times a month. And we said to them, look, can you give us some detailed information about the key problems my target audience is facing? What are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? And what are some of their key pain points? And from those 3 pieces of information, we then had enough inspiration, enough direction, and enough clarity to write all of the content for their website. Yeah, so we refined what we already had to really focus in on the what's in it for me. Yes, an example here would be, we're not going to say we're passionate about training excellence. We're going to say you get quality you can rely on every time. Yeah, so we're talking about the benefit to that customer. So this is a nice example. So this is a website design agency in Singapore, and they're saying that we do e-commerce website design and development. Yeah? So we can help you create a website that's both aesthetically pleasing and conversion driven. Yeah, so this is wonderful. And then you've got the call to action button of get a quote twice, yeah, based on this text that we've seen above. Yeah, and also just on the side, they've got their chat button there, which helps with this like 2-way conversation with your customers, which means they're more likely to convert as well. Other ways of doing this to making it really focus on your customer is by having customer testimonials, not just to try and entice people to sign up or buy, but but actually to hear about it from a customer's point of view. So instead of me talking about the benefits of the product or the benefits of the service, you hear about it from other customers and what's important to them. So that's, as we all know, testimonials are great, right, to move people along that customer journey and get people more likely to buy something from us. Okay. I'll just pause there in case anyone's got any questions on that little section before we move on to the final bit, which is looking at some free tools that you all have access to, where we can use these tools to become more informed about what we can do to improve our conversion. So any other questions on that section? No? Okay, I'll start this next bit. If there are questions, please write them in. As I said, I will pause at the end in a couple of minutes' time to take any sort of just general questions on websites and conversion rates, any questions you've got at all. Okay. All right, so the last section then, we're looking at free tools that you can use to improve your conversion rate. So got to talk about Google Analytics. Still can't believe this is free for all businesses, but Google Analytics gives us amazingly relevant and useful data as to how people get to our website, what they do when they get to our website, and most importantly, where they leave, right? So the exit pages, that's what is always good to look at on Google Analytics. So you can see, okay, what's working and what's not. You can now in Google Analytics 4, you can set up specific events to track your conversion points. So if a conversion point for you is you want somebody to watch a video to understand more about what you do, you can set up an event to track how many people complete that conversion. Right? If that conversion is low, then we know that maybe we need to move that video, or we need to change the content in that video to make it more appealing to the customer. Yeah, you could also set up a specific event to fill in a form or download a PDF guide. And again, we can track conversions on key pages to see what's working and what's not. So this is very, very helpful to understand, okay, what's our overall goal normally to make money or get leads on a website, but then on certain pages, on the home page or the services page or the product page, what's working and what isn't working. So the exit pages usually show us where somebody got stuck and they couldn't find what they wanted and they left. So that would be a really good place to start. If you're thinking of improving your conversion rate, great place to start is the exit pages. Why did they leave at that point? Is there a bottleneck or a roadblock where they couldn't do something that they really wanted to do? My other favorite tool, also a Google tool, is called Page Speed Insights. So if you Google Page Speed Insights, this will come up, totally free. And this is specifically looking at, is your website properly set up in terms of the structure to be optimized for both desktop and mobile? But obviously we're more focused on mobile because Google is mobile first. As a population, we are also mobile first. So it's looking at, in this instance, how optimized is the mobile version of your site. So this bit that we've highlighted in red here is showing you how long does it take for that page to load, right? How long does it take for the largest piece of content to come up on the screen? And how long does it take before somebody does something on your website? So if you've got very low conversion rates, so say you've got sub 1% on your website, then a problem might not be the structure of your website or the content. It might be simply, it's just not loading quick enough. So people can't see that button to press it. So this is a really nice tool to do a quick check to see, and I'm looking at this first category here, this performance, to see, is it performing okay? Is it loading up okay in the first place in order for someone to find that conversion point and then press on that button? So that is Google Analytics and Google Page Speed Insights. And then the other thing we can do, which is the main tool really to improve your conversion rate optimization on your website, is to test. This is one of the best things that we can do with digital marketing because it's live, it's dynamic, it's ongoing. We should be optimizing it at every opportunity. Is we can test 2 different versions of our website and we can see whether the second one, for example, gets a higher conversion rate. So it used to be quite difficult to do this with websites. We used to think, oh, we're going to have to create a whole new website and then test that version. Whereas now, with tools like Zoho PageSense, we can actually do an A/B split. So 50% of traffic goes to our existing website and 50% goes to a version of our website that we can create in this tool that has one change, right? So maybe we changed the position of the call to action button. Maybe we changed what we say on that call to action button, or we changed the hero image on the homepage. But we change something so that we can see, okay, is that going to impact our conversion rate optimization? So in the class, when we looked at this, we changed the value proposition. So the big statement that you see when you come into a website, we had 2 different versions and we saw which one performed better. And then obviously then you keep with the one that's performing better. So this particular tool I found is very good. They're currently doing a free trial if you did want to try it out. Very good for SMEs, very, very easy to use. There's loads of different tools, but this is just one that I'm familiar with called Zoho PageSense. The other one, which is quite good, very good if you're new to all of this as well, is called Visual Website Optimizer, which is very similar to Zoho PageSense. So they have actually a free plan for very, very basic A/B testing. So if you just wanted to change, for example, the header text or an image on your website, then you can try that out for free. So you can see here, you set up an A/B test, right? And it gives you a report, and then it has like a little trophy next to the version that is performing better. So you can say, okay, right, this one is the one that's doing really, really well. So very, very easy to implement. You can link it to your website very easily with just a small piece of code. Okay, and then the last one is Microsoft Clarity. So this is a great tool, which again, 100% free, no limits, and it offers A/B testing, so testing different elements of your website, but it also gives access to a whole bunch of other really cool stuff, which Zoho PageSense does as well, which is it looks at things like heat mapping. So heat mapping is awesome because it shows you where people are looking, clicking, and scrolling on your website. So Google Analytics will tell you how many people go to that page and what buttons they press or what events they complete on that page. But if you need more insights, so if you're not getting people clicking on a button or people are leaving on a page and you just don't know why, then you can go further into that sort of analytics process and look at click maps and scroll maps to see where do people stop scrolling? Is there a problem at that point on the page? If you want to go even further, and we did this once, what do we do with Scooby-Doo? We had a Scooby-Doo website, this is years ago, where people just weren't buying the DVD at the time, shows you how long ago it was. And we ended up doing what's called a site session recording. So we gave our customers a job, like, please do this and put this in your basket and check out. And we recorded the screen. We recorded what they were clicking on to see where was the roadblock, what was happening that they didn't understand, they couldn't complete, which meant that we were getting a really low conversion. So that, as you probably can imagine, has a cost associated to it. And really, you would go as far as doing a site session recording if there was a particular problem or if you had a very low conversion rate that you really needed to fix. But Microsoft Clarity does give you some of this stuff for free. So if you've got a simple test that you want to run, then they will do that and look at things like, so rage clicks is where somebody's clicking on something that isn't clickable, or clicks that don't go to something, right? You don't want that because then again, you're wasting that click and you're also not giving a great experience to your customers. So this is really good, again, for small businesses, beginners, but it works better if you've got more data. So you do need quite high traffic to your site to do that one. Okay, so just 10 minutes left. So I'm going to leave the last little bit so that we can ask some questions. So just to summarize, the key topics that we've touched on today. So we started off looking at the conversion rate optimization mindset. So about having this kind of open mindset to having a dynamic website where we're going to test what's working. We're going to focus in on customers and really understand what they need from us. We went through a couple of things that some businesses are doing that may be losing them clicks and conversions. Then we looked at quick wins to boost your conversion rates, ranging from navigation and changing how easy it is to move around your website, right through to your call to action buttons, what to say, and then looking at making your content more kind of consumer friendly. And then right at the end there, shared a couple of free conversion rate optimization tools that I would really highly recommend you try out if you're in business and you want to understand what's happening. Great place to start if you've got a paid AI tool is to get them to do an audit of your website and say, what's working and what's not working here? Where can I improve my conversion rate optimization on this site? So big thank you from me for coming along on a Monday evening to hear all about website CRO. So I work with ASK Training. I say we ran this course today. I'm back talking about it again tomorrow. So that is the funded WSQ website and landing page optimization course. We also run other similar courses on topics like copywriting, content writing. We have a course on how to create a website using WordPress. And all of these courses are funded. So I believe you get the 90% funding for the courses. So these ones that we've got listed here, all part of our digital marketing diploma, which is a really nice comprehensive course where you go through these topics. Plus we look at things like Google ads and meta ads. So you've got a really nice broad range of an understanding of digital marketing and how to improve your performance. Or you can just take one course if there's a specific topic that you're interested in covering off. So please do visit the website, or you can scan the QR code that's on the screen at the moment. Or you can, somebody was saying, are we sharing the slides? Absolutely, we're sharing the slides. And also we've done you a little downloadable guide that you can use as a kind of quick starting point to improving your conversion rates on your website. So hopefully you found that useful. So big thank you from me for attending, and I'll hang around now for the last kind of 5 minutes in case anybody's got any questions.
Thank you for that, Elizabeth. I think we all learned quite a bit there. I think for a lot of us that only have 1 out of 10, rated ourselves 1 out of 10 when it comes to conversion rate optimization, I think that's quite a bit there to learn. I learned quite a bit as well, and I didn't know there were so many free tools that we can use if ever we were to, want to create our own website for our own purposes or our own business. And yeah, I think you also helped us to maybe articulate some of the frustrations we have in our own experiences as consumers using websites. And, maybe sometimes we come across a frustrating experience and we don't quite understand why. And I think you've helped to articulate that quite a bit. Maybe if anyone still has any other questions percolating in their heads, I could just do a quick sharing of some NLB resources while you have some questions that you might want to ask. I'll just change my screen to my presentation, and that way everyone can find out more about what we have in store. So yeah, first off, if you haven't already, do download our NLB mobile app to help you discover and access a lot of our programs, our e-resources like ebooks, newspapers, e-magazines, and like I mentioned before, our programs. This is available on the App Store and the Google Play Store, so you haven't already, have that on your phone. Next, if you'd like to find out more about digital programs like the one that we have this evening, you can scan this QR code to find more digital themed NLB resources just for you. I'll put the link in the chat uh, in a bit at the end of this. Right. We also have the NLB Business Library. It's an entire section uh, curated for books on business intelligence and data analytics. So if you're interested in such topics, do check out the NLB Business Library. If you're interested in some upcoming digital programs, we have a website for you as well. This is our digital readiness programs. So you can register via the links provided. You can scan this QR code, save the screenshot if you're watching from your phone, or I will put the link in the chat as well. One thing to highlight, we're kind of trying out a new process for the signing up of our programs. Do remember to browse through the list of programs if you want to register for one. Remember to select the program you wish to join, just that one program over there. And very important, you have to click the individual links right at the bottom over there of the registration screen to register. So if you are signing up for our upcoming programs, do remember this extra step right here. I know it's a bit ironic that we are talking about conversion rate optimization, and this might not be the best. So maybe this is an example, a live example for us to go through. But yeah, this is just something that's new for you to look out for. Hey, for discussion. Yeah, one program to highlight we have coming up on 13th of April. This is a book talk with author and speaker Nimisha Taylor. She's the author of The Female Digital Revolution. So there's a book talk coming up on this book happening at Woodlands Regional Library in the program zone, Sunday, 13th April at 2 p.m. Okay, and if you would like to keep in touch, do join our mailing list. That way you can stay up to date with all the programs and the content that we have coming up for you. Let me just paste all the links to everything that I just mentioned just now. And last but not least, it'd be very helpful if you could help us improve our program offerings by filling up this very quick feedback form. Let us know what you liked about today's program, what you would like to see more of, or is there is any way we can improve. So yeah, thank you very much. Let me now just put all the links inside for everybody. Here we go. All right, I see there's some questions over there. Maybe I can end off with a question of my own. Elizabeth, maybe you could give us an example of a recent example of a website that converted you without knowing. I mean, might be impossible because this is like your bread and butter, right? You know, you're probably very aware of what they're doing. But have you come across an example where you've gone like, oh wow, this is really good, you know, this is unlike anything that I've seen before, and before you know it, your conversion rate really was
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good question. And do you know what? Even though I teach digital marketing, I'm a sucker, right, for a good offer. So I'll give you an example that really happened to me. And this is, I think, a good example of when the company understands their customers really well, right? So I use urban companies. So we use them occasionally for like cleaning and stuff. And because I'm doing so much training, I was looking, I hadn't said anything to this company, but I was genuinely looking for a bit more help in terms of we've got a little dog at home. So I needed somebody to take the dog for a walk and help with some household chores. And it was actually via email. So it wasn't their website, but it was still an example of good conversion rate where I had an email saying, are you looking for a live out helper to do dog walking, help with some household chores, etc.? So all in the language that I would use at
Mm.
exactly the time I was looking for it. And I literally read the message and went, yes, 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 book. Immediately
Wow.
booked it. And it's because they obviously had some data, or, maybe I was like messaging them about something and using certain language, but they had used that data from me, and I'm guessing a bunch of other people in Singapore, to think, oh, this is a new service we're going to offer. And the way they had communicated that offer was literally to detail out my pain points that they understood and give me my benefit and my solution. And because I already was aware of the company, they didn't have to do any other convincing. I literally signed up and we had the lady coming tomorrow. So yeah,
Oh,
worked very well.
record time. Wow.
Yeah, good on Urban Company.
Okay, we still have a couple of minutes and time for some more questions. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in. Maybe I can include one more as well. Um, this is more on like the consumer side of things. Is there anything we as consumers can look out for in terms of conversion tactics that might be predatory? Because, you know, in this day and age, there's a lot of concern regarding, you know, scams and cybersecurity. Are there, you know, things that we can look out for in the kind of content that we encounter online that could help us be a bit more wary?
In terms of us as consumers or us
Yes.
as, yeah, okay, fine. I mean, I think anybody who's asking you for personal information or data, doesn't matter
Mm.
who it is, whether they're saying they're your bank or whoever, don't ever offer up personal information unless you're 110% clear of who you're talking to. So I know that I've spoken there about understanding your customers, but I'm talking about that in terms of using AI and research to understand the market, right? Rather than going out on a one-by-one basis and getting that information from them. So I think if anybody ever says that they need any details from you, address, birth date, bank account, any of that stuff, that we've got to be super aware of, the fact that we trust that person. So that's a good question. I see one more question coming up in the chat as well, which is, how do I start if I don't have a product? Is there a place to practice this stuff? That's a really nice question. I actually had a lady in the class today who was thinking of starting a business. And as part of the project, so we do like a hands-on project, you have to use a website. So she set up like a digital portfolio, like a CV or resume of her experience and the project she'd worked on. And she's going to use that as a little bit of an experiment, right? In terms of looking at the design and the layout and the call to action buttons and all that stuff, so that she can test it out to see how it works. So we don't necessarily have to have a product that we're selling. It can just be a portfolio, background information if we're looking to improve our career options, or a service that we're providing as well. You can do it for that.
All right. Very cool. Okay. I think that's it for time. Just nice. We're 8 o'clock on the dot. Thank you very much once again, Elizabeth and ASK Training for taking us through tonight's session. Yeah, learned quite a bit today. And yes, hopefully we will see you guys at our upcoming programs. Let us know if you'd like to find out more about such topics again. Till next time, wishing everybody a great evening and a great week ahead. Goodbye, everybody.